They say the enemy of my enemy is my friend. They say in the darkest hour, unexpected allies emerge from the shadows. But what happens when you can't tell the difference between salvation and another trap? Tonight, Ethan Reed will discover that in the world of puppet masters, even the rebels might be dancing to someone else's tune. The Riverside Mill. 11:47 p.m. Ethan approaches the abandoned building through overgrown weeds, laptop bag containing everything he's discovered about the Shadow Council. 3 days of isolation have sharpened his paranoia to a razor's edge. Every shadow could hide friend or foe. The mill's broken windows stare down like dead eyes. Graffiti covers the walls, but not random tags. These are symbols, codes, messages in a language Ethan doesn't recognize. Someone has been using this place for purposes beyond abandonment. Mr. Reed. The voice comes from above. A figure descends from the catwalk with practiced silence. As she steps into moonlight, Ethan's breath catches. Ms. Rodriguez, the librarian. Quiet, invisible, overlooked by everyone including him. Now, seeing her purposeful movements and alert eyes, he realizes that was exactly the point. "You're the one who texted me?" She nods, hands visible, recognizing his paranoia. "I'm sorry for the dramatic location, but when you're fighting the Shadow Council, public places aren't safe." "You know about them?" "I know because I've been fighting them for 8 years. Long before you heard of Derek Matthews or Olivia Chen. 8 years. Someone has been actively opposing them while Ethan suffered in ignorance. Are you part of some resistance?" Ms. Rodriguez pulls out a tablet showing a map of Maplewood with red and blue dots. "We call ourselves the Underground. Red dots are confirmed Shadow Council operatives. Blue dots are our people." The map is shocking. Red dominates the school district, police department, local businesses, even town council. Blue dots are scattered, outnumbered 3 to 1. "This is bigger than I thought." The Shadow Council operates nationally, Ethan. Social engineering on a massive scale. They identify natural leaders and either recruit or destroy them. You were marked for recruitment 3 years ago. What changed? You were too empathetic. Too concerned with justice. They need operatives who can hurt people for the greater good. When breaking you failed and you fought back, they activated Total Destruction Protocol. She opens a thick folder containing hundreds of documents. "I was recruited 8 years ago as their information hub. Instead, I became a double agent." The folder maps their entire network. Recruitment protocols, psychological evaluations, target lists. You've been documenting them like I documented Derek. More thoroughly. Librarians see everything, have access to everything. I've mapped their complete structure. She shows him organizational charts. Principal Johnson was recruited 4 years ago. Mrs. Patterson is a founding member. My parents? Clean. But expertly manipulated, like you saw. She flips to another section. Here's their file on you. They've been studying you since 7th grade. The file is extensive. They predicted he would document their activities, fight back, even find allies. They know about you. They suspect I'm occasionally useful for information. They don't know I've been feeding their plans to the Underground for years. She shows him another document marked Emergency Protocol Activation. Your disruption accelerated their timeline. They're moving to Phase 3 ahead of schedule. Phase 3? Complete institutional control. Open oligarchy instead of secret influence. The spring school board elections are their target. 6 weeks to take control of the entire district. Ethan's evidence feels insignificant compared to this. What do you need from me? Everything you've gathered. But more importantly, we need you to infiltrate their leadership structure. Get close to Olivia Chen, document their Phase 3 preparations. Go back undercover? Help us arrange your recovery that demonstrates you've learned to see things their way. They'll interpret it as finally breaking your resistance. And if they don't believe it? Her silence is answer enough. There's something else. We think there's a mole in the Underground. 3 operations compromised in the past month. Even here, puppet masters pull strings. How do you know I'm not the mole? We don't. Just like you don't know if I am. The brutal honesty is necessary. Trust becomes a luxury no one can afford. She hands him a secure phone. Encrypted communication only. Remember, everyone you'll interact with is a trained psychological manipulator. Stay anchored to what you know is true. But what does he know is true? Walking back through the mill, Ethan realizes he's crossing a threshold. Behind lies victimization and reactive survival. Ahead lies active resistance and systematic deception. Tomorrow, he begins his most dangerous performance yet, pretending to be broken while preparing to break others. 1 week later. Dr. Sarah Chen's office. Ethan sits across from the psychiatrist, maintaining perfect eye contact while sophisticated surveillance equipment records everything. Every word and gesture matters more than therapeutic curiosity. How are you feeling about returning to school, Ethan? Dr. Chen's pen hovers over her notepad with calculated interest. Nervous, but relieved, Ethan replies, allowing slight tremor in his voice. I think I understand now what everyone was trying to tell me. The performance must be perfect. Too much resistance and they'll know he's faking. Too little and they'll suspect planning. What do you understand? She leans forward, confirming his suspicions. She's not his therapist. She's his evaluator. I was seeing patterns that weren't there. My reaction to Derek and Jessica was disproportionate. I turned normal teenage dynamics into elaborate conspiracy theories because I couldn't accept that maybe I was just. He pauses, letting shame creep in. Unpopular. Dr. Chen makes satisfied notes. That's a significant breakthrough, Ethan. Derek and Jessica weren't trying to hurt me. They were helping me understand my place in the social structure. I just couldn't see it. The words taste like poison, but they're exactly what the Shadow Council wants to hear. And how do you feel about that now? Grateful. Maybe I needed to hit rock bottom to understand how distorted my thinking had become. Dr. Chen sets down her pen. I want to share something that might help you understand why your recovery is so important to your entire community. Here comes the recruitment pitch. I'm listening. There are students struggling with the same issues you faced. Some developing the same paranoid ideation that affected you. That's terrible. Is there something I can do to help? Her first genuinely warm smile. Actually, there is. There's a group of students and faculty who work together to identify and help struggling individuals before they reach crisis point like you experienced. Like a support group? More like a mentorship program. Would you be interested? The Shadow Council recruitment in action. They're positioning membership as helping others, using his experience for good. Sophisticated manipulation. Yes. After what I went through, if I can help someone else avoid the same mistakes. Wonderful. I'll arrange for you to meet with program coordinators. She makes a note, subject ready for Phase 1 integration. The appointment ends with scheduling his school return and first meeting with mentorship coordinators. Walking out, Ethan feels the weight of successful infiltration and the burden of what's coming. To maintain cover, he'll help them identify and manipulate other vulnerable students. The secure phone buzzes. How did it go? He types back, hook, line, and sinker. They want me to help recruit others. Perfect. Remember, document everything but trust no one completely. Even me. Even me. The reminder that paranoia is justified, that everyone is suspect. 2 weeks later. Ethan walks through Maplewood High's front doors for the first time since exile. Whispers start immediately, but they're different. Instead of fear and disgust, he hears curiosity and something like respect. Is that Ethan Reed? I heard he got help. He looks better. The rehabilitation campaign worked perfectly. Stories circulated about his recovery, remorse, transformation from dangerous obsessive to recovered victim learning healthy coping. The Shadow Council rewrote his narrative again, this time favorably. Olivia Chen approaches with 2 unfamiliar students. Ethan. So good to see you back. Her smile seems genuine, but he knows it's performance, evaluating his psychological state. Hi, Olivia. Thanks for advocating for treatment instead of punishment. The agreed-upon lie comes easily. We're all part of the same community. When someone struggles, we help them. She gestures to her companions. Michael Torres and Amanda Kim from the peer counseling program. Michael is tall, athletic, naturally confident. Amanda is smaller, intense, cataloging everything. Both study Ethan with interest beyond casual friendship. It's nice to meet people who understand, Ethan says. Dr. Chen mentioned ways I could help other students going through what I experienced. Your experience gives you insights most people don't have, Amanda responds. Understanding how isolation and paranoia develop, recognizing warning signs, intervening before crisis point. They're speaking sophisticated psychological terminology. These aren't peer counselors. These are junior operatives. I'd really like to be part of that, Ethan says. If I can help someone avoid making the same mistakes. Exactly the attitude we're looking for, Michael says. Join us for lunch today. We can discuss how the program works. At lunch, they sit in the cafeteria's far corner. Strategic location, far enough to prevent eavesdropping, not isolated enough to seem suspicious. Tell us about your research methods, Michael begins. Dr. Chen mentioned sophisticated techniques for analyzing social behavior. The test. They want to assess if his intelligence gathering skills are advanced enough for more than peer counseling. I started trying to understand why certain people targeted me, but realized individual behavior is part of larger patterns. Social hierarchies, group dynamics, power structures. You can't understand why someone acts without understanding the system they operate within. Amanda and Michael exchange glances. Olivia nods approvingly. Very sophisticated thinking. What patterns did you identify? Amanda asks. Ethan pretends to hesitate. Bullying wasn't random. Certain students were targeted for specific reasons: too independent, intelligent, likely to question authority. And it followed consistent patterns, like coordination. Coordinated how? Michael presses. Like someone was directing it. Making sure the right students were targeted in the right ways to achieve specific outcomes. Social engineering on a massive scale. Silence. He's described their operations with uncomfortable accuracy. Olivia breaks it. That's actually very astute. And it raises important questions about how social systems really work. What do you mean? Maybe what you interpreted as coordination wasn't conspiracy. Maybe it was natural leadership. People who understand social dynamics taking responsibility for maintaining order and stability. Amanda nods. Every ecosystem needs predators and prey, alphas and betas. Remove predators, and prey overpopulate and destroy the environment. Are you saying bullying is necessary? Ethan asks, allowing genuine shock. Social hierarchies are necessary, Michael corrects. Sometimes maintaining them requires what outsiders interpret as harsh measures. They're indoctrinating him, gradually introducing shadow council ideology through reasonable analogies. The same process used on Derek, Jessica, every recruit. But what about people who get hurt? That's where we come in, Olivia explains. We identify students struggling with social integration and help them find their proper place. Sometimes accepting lower position. Sometimes training them to move higher. Michael pulls out a tablet showing student photos. Current situations we're monitoring. Students showing signs of social maladjustment, academic underperformance, behavioral problems. Early intervention. The photos show quiet kids, outsiders, the same types once targeted by Derek's crew. Now targeted by something more sophisticated and dangerous. Intervention how? Depends on the situation. Sometimes mentoring. Sometimes intensive counseling. And sometimes. Olivia pauses, studying his reaction. Sometimes helping them realize their current path leads toward the same crisis you experienced. Complete social destruction, isolation, psychological breakdown followed by recruitment or elimination. A systematic process. That sounds like important work. How do I get involved? Training program, Michael explains. Evenings and weekends, advanced techniques in social psychology, group dynamics, crisis intervention. Graduates become part of a very exclusive community. Community? People who understand how the world really works. Who take responsibility for maintaining order. Who have access to resources and opportunities most people never know exist. Power, knowledge, belonging in exchange for becoming an instrument of systematic oppression. The devil's bargain every operative faces. I'm interested. When do I start? Satisfied glances. This weekend, Olivia says. We'll pick you up Saturday morning. Dress professionally. And Ethan? Don't discuss this outside the program. Operational security. Military terminology for high school social engineering. The Shadow Council is a paramilitary organization using psychological warfare on civilian populations. Saturday morning. A black SUV idles outside Ethan's house. Inside, Olivia sits passenger while Michael drives. The back seat awaits Ethan's transformation from infiltrator to instrument. The drive takes 45 minutes into rural countryside, finally turning onto a private road marked Riverside Institute for Educational Excellence. The facility resembles a corporate retreat center, modern buildings around a central courtyard, professional landscaping. Nothing suggests the psychological warfare training facility it actually is. Impressive, isn't it? Olivia asks. The institute has operated for 12 years, training social intervention specialists from communities across the region. How many people go through the program? About 30 per year from our district alone. But this is just one of many facilities. The network is much larger. Inside, the lobby could belong to any upscale conference center. But people move with purposefulness suggesting military or intelligence training. A woman in her 50s approaches, dressed in conservative business attire conveying authority and approachability. You must be Ethan Reed. I'm Dr. Victoria Hartwell, Director of Training Services. Hartwell, Jessica's family name. The connections run deeper than imagined. She leads them through corridors lined with graduation photos, awards, certificates from psychology organizations. Everything suggests legitimacy, academic rigor, social responsibility. Before we begin, Victoria says at a conference room door, understand what you're being invited to join. This isn't just training. It's a movement. A commitment to taking responsibility for our community's social health. She opens the door revealing 20 other young people, all professionally dressed, sitting with focused attention. Please welcome our newest candidate, Ethan Reed from Maplewood High. Polite applause, genuine smiles, warm reception designed to create belonging and receptivity to indoctrination. The presentation that follows is masterfully constructed. Starting with uncontroversial social psychology principles, gradually introducing sophisticated concepts about hierarchy, order, and controlled intervention necessity. Every society faces the same challenge, Victoria explains, showing historical examples. How do you maintain stability while allowing individual expression? Prevent destructive behaviors while encouraging constructive ones? Carefully chosen examples, successful businesses, effective military units, thriving communities. All characterized by clear hierarchies, defined roles, systems for identifying and correcting problems. Traditional approaches assume problems arise from individual pathology or random conflicts. But what if problems are systematic, requiring systematic solutions? A student raises her hand. Social engineering? Social responsibility. Public health officials don't just treat individual disease cases, they prevent epidemics by managing environmental factors. Seductive analogy, social intervention as public health, problematic individuals as infectious agents, shadow counsel as epidemiologists preventing social disease spread. 3 years ago, Maplewood High experienced significant student unrest, academic underperformance, behavioral issues. Traditional interventions weren't working. So we implemented a systematic approach. Before and after statistics, reduced disciplinary incidents, improved test scores, decreased conflict reports. Results speak for themselves. But achieving outcomes required identifying natural leaders and training them to take responsibility for their social environment. Ethan realizes he's looking at data documenting his victimization as public health success. 3 years of systematic bullying were measured intervention to improve school climate. Not everyone initially understands intervention necessity. Some interpret required leadership as bullying, necessary structure as oppression. They see individual trees instead of forest ecosystem. Psychological profiles of resistant individuals who fought the system. Ethan recognizes his own patterns. These individuals aren't evil. They're often highly intelligent, deeply empathetic, naturally inclined toward justice. Exactly the qualities making excellent leaders, once they understand using those qualities constructively rather than destructively. The room turns to Ethan. This entire presentation was designed for his benefit. Everyone else has been through this process. Ethan, you experienced our intervention methods from a resistant perspective. What would you tell other intelligent, empathetic students struggling with similar resistance? The test. His answer determines whether recruitment continues or elimination begins. I'd tell them fighting the system creates more problems for everyone. That people they think are enemies are actually trying to help them find their proper place. And what did you learn about your proper place? That I was wasting intelligence trying to tear down structures instead of learning to work within them. That my empathy was misdirected toward enabling dysfunction instead of promoting healthy social development. Victoria nods approvingly. How do you feel about using your analytical abilities to help other students avoid your mistakes? I think it's my responsibility. I have insights into how resistance develops, recognizing warning signs, intervening before crisis point. Perfect. Final slide, welcome to Level 1 training. Applause erupts while Ethan's stomach churns knowing what he's agreed to become. The day consists of intensive workshops on social psychology, group dynamics, and intervention techniques. Learning to identify potential dissidents, methods for isolating and pressuring resistant individuals, psychological techniques for breaking opposition. Everything the underground suspected and worse. Professional intelligence agency operations training psychological warfare techniques that would be illegal for government use. During break, Amanda approaches. How are you handling this? It can be overwhelming at first. It's a lot to process. When I was on the receiving end, I had no idea how sophisticated it was. That's the point. Effective intervention looks natural, feels spontaneous. If targets realize systematic management, techniques lose effectiveness. She lowers her voice. The hardest part isn't learning techniques. It's using them on people you might actually like. What do you mean? Sometimes you'll manage someone who seems nice, reminds you of yourself before understanding how things work. You have to remember you're helping them, even if they don't realize it. Casual discussion of psychological manipulation as benevolence. These aren't sociopaths enjoying pain. They're true believers convinced systematic oppression is social service. Ethan documents everything with hidden recording equipment. Names, techniques, organizational structure, funding sources. Evidence to bring down not just local operations, but the entire network. But he also feels unexpected temptation. The power offered is real. Knowledge shared is genuine. Community provided is authentic. For someone who spent 3 years as powerless victim, joining the powerful is almost irresistible. By day's end, Ethan understands why Derek Matthews became who he did. Why Jessica Hartwell transformed into psychological predator. Why intelligent, empathetic students choose to become systematic oppression instruments. Because the alternative, remaining powerless, victims, outside the system, is unbearable for people with their capabilities and ambitions. Driving back, Olivia turns to him. So what do you think? Ready for level 2 training? What does that involve? Direct field experience. Working with current cases under supervision. Real intervention work with real consequences. Real victims whose lives he'll help destroy. When would that start? Next weekend. But before committing to level 2, understand something. Once you begin field work, you become fully operational. No going back to civilian status. Michael catches his eye in the mirror. The knowledge you'll gain, techniques you'll learn, cases you'll be involved in, permanent responsibilities. And permanent consequences for betrayal. Casual friendly threat. Cross them after level 2, and elimination becomes probable. I understand, though he's not sure he understands anything. The deeper he goes, the more complex and dangerous it becomes. Lines between good and evil, victim and perpetrator, resistance and collaboration blur until he's uncertain what side he's on. That night, uploading recordings to secure server, Ethan reaches critical decision point. He can maintain cover, advance to level 2, gather intelligence to bring down the Shadow Council. But doing so requires participating in destroying other lives. Becoming complicit in the systematic abuse he suffered. Sacrificing unknown victims for eventual justice. Or withdraw now, maintain moral integrity, and accept the Shadow Council continues operating while he remains powerless. The secure phone buzzes, status report. Underground leadership needs immediate threat assessment. Ethan stares, knowing his response determines not just his fate, but everyone the Shadow Council targets. He types, threat level maximum. They're bigger, better funded, more sophisticated than imagined. Advancing to level 2 next weekend. We'll have full operational intelligence within 2 weeks. Response, too dangerous. Extract now. We'll find another way. Ethan stares, then deletes the message and turns off the phone. Some decisions can't be made by committee. Some sacrifices can't be avoided. Tomorrow, he'll tell Olivia he's ready for level 2. He'll cross from infiltrator to operational double agent. He'll become everything he once fought against to destroy it from within. The silent roar has become a whisper in darkness, gathering strength for one final, devastating scream. Next time on The Silent Roar, Level 2 training begins. Ethan faces his first operational assignment. The Underground discovers the mole in their ranks. And the Shadow Council reveals their network's true scope in preparation for the ultimate confrontation. Join us for Episode 4, The Reckoning, where 3 years of careful planning collide with decades of systematic control, and the price of justice may be higher than anyone imagined.